All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you guys are here. Today, we're going to be talking about a specific person in history that this guy really did change the world. And I know that term is loosely thrown around when it comes to history, but this guy really did. We're going to talk about him. His name is Genghis Khan. Okay, so the objective today, we're going to analyze how Genghis Khan came to power. We're going to examine how he changed the world, not only figurative, but literally, he changed the world. Okay. He also created an argument on which way of death seems more logical. Okay. So let's go ahead and get to the warm up picture. All right. So the warm up picture is this one right here. And the first question asks you, what do you notice about all these people? What do they have in common? Okay. So look at the people, look through them, look at what each one of them has, things like that, and answer that first part. Okay, so you should have at least two things. Two. There's honestly there's like four or five things that they all have in common. Okay. Um, the next question asks you, where do you think they're going? Do you think they're going to war? Do you think that they're moving to warmer climates? Because up north it's probably the winter time. Do you think they're going after food? A herd of whatever animal? What do you think? Or there could be another reason. Okay. So write down your response, but we're moving on in three, two, one. So the Mongolians, they are separated by clans, and they had 17 large ones and 18 smaller ones. Now there was one guy in charge of a small clan named Yesagol. Okay. Thing is, he had a son by the name of Temujin. Now Temujin means blacksmith in Mongolian. This is the birth name of Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan is not his real name. It's Temujin. Okay. So try to remember that because every so often in class I might ask you guys just randomly, just like I do with the AD, what is Genghis Khan's real name? It's Temujin. Okay. Now there was this group called the Tartars. Now these were a rival group, and they ended up poisoning and killing um, uh, Temujin's dad. And basically, what happened is the family was like kind of forced out, and Temujin was captured and made a slave for years. And eventually, he became got free, and then he went after the Tartars, but he knew he couldn't do it alone. So he went to this group called the Jin, which is a their allies, and basically they hate the Tartars too. And what happened is he goes, "Hey, look at let's attack them. This is how we should do it. This and that." Now, mind you, he is very young at this time, so they're kind of like, "Kid, should we even listen to this kid?" But he does show some knowledge and pretty creative attack, ways. So they're like, "Okay, cool. Let's try it your way." So they do, and they win. Okay, the Tartars are bigger. They are one of the bigger groups, and here they are being beaten by a smaller group. Now in 1200, basically, Genghis Khan unites all the clans. So instead of saying like, we're fighting amongst ourselves, we're all divided amongst ourselves, let's unite, and we will be a powerful force. And he has to make some promises, but and deliver on them. But the thing is, it works, and he is known as the first great Khan. Khan means prince or ruler of the Mongolian Empire. Now, the thing is, that alone's pretty impressive, right? Now, the Mongolians were like, we need to give you a name. So they give him the name Genghis Khan, which literally means ultimate ruler or universal ruler. Okay. Now, the thing he promised was basically the civilians and soldiers that, hey, you follow me, we're going to get rich, we're going to live well, things like that. Um, when we conquer areas, which we will do and we will win. Okay. Now, they did. They went off and they were amazing riders when it comes to being on horses. Okay. Um, Here's a little interesting thing. They didn't really kill their enemies unless they had to. And basically, when they conquered an area and there's the enemy soldiers, the ones who are still alive, they would tell them, join our side. Join our side, get rich, or die. It's up to you. You choose. And there were some that joined. All right, so here's your first question. I get actually giving you an option. You can do the top one or the bottom one. The top one says, do you think it's wise to accept your enemies as soldiers? I mean, you just fought and killed their other, their friends, their other soldier friends. Is it wise to tell them to accept that olive branch of, hey, join our side? Why or why not? What do you think? The second one is, do you think Temujin attacked the Tartars because he wanted revenge for what they did to his dad? Or do you think it was kind of a demonstration to show, like the old saying, when you go to prison, you go for the biggest guy in the prison yard and you knock him out? Do you think that was what he was trying to do? Show dominance, like, hey, we're not just a small group. We could pack a punch. We're not to be messed with. So do you think he wanted revenge, or do you think it was a demonstration to show their power? What do you think? Okay, so pick whichever one you want, whichever one you feel you can answer better. Go with that one. Okay, but we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So Genghis Khan did a lot of bad things. We're going to get to that in a second, but let's talk about some of the things that he did that could be deemed good. You know, Believe me, the good things do not match with the bad things. Okay, just stating that right now. Okay, but they are pretty interesting things. Number one, in the Mongolian Empire, they did not just have one religion. He basically tolerated all religions. You know, in Europe, as if you watched the last video, they were basically saying we need to convert the Jews, we need to convert the Muslims. You know, Here in the Mongolian Empire, he's like, if you want to be a Buddhist, be a Buddhist. If you want to be a Muslim, be a Muslim. If you want to be Christian, Taoist, whatever, be that. Everyone's welcome. Every religion is welcome in the empire. That was pretty unique. That's pretty interesting. Wasn't happening on the other side of the world, but on his side, it was. Okay. The next thing was he's responsible for one of the first international post office systems. Now, what does that mean? Basically, mail could be transferred from one part of the empire, which was big. You're going to see in the map later on, from one side to the other within a day or two. It took a while, but it was a lot faster than other places around the world. So what would happen is like this: the postman would get letters from a certain town. He would ride to a certain area, right, to another post office. He would drop off the mail, and he would either tell the people, "Hey, I can go to the next place. Just give me a fresh horse," or he'd be like, "Okay, I'm done. Um, Someone else take over," and then somebody else would get on and go. Okay, so it was scattered about, and these guys were on good, fast horses, and they were good riders, so they could deliver mail from one part of the empire to the other, which is a long area, in no time flat, which was very impressive. The next thing was he established strong trade routes. Now, why is this important? Because Genghis Khan realized, hey, trade is important. Your empire is going to grow when you sell things or when people buy things or, things like that. So he made sure that the roads were safe. Other parts of the world, it was not safe. There were bandits who would, basically set up an ambush and things like that. Genghis Khan made sure that the roads were clear so that no bandits came through. And if they did attack, they would handle it. Somebody would handle the bandits. So people who were merchants with the caravans full of, stuff, they could feel safe going through his territory, knowing if something happens, Genghis will take care of it. Okay. The next one is when he went to an area to conquer, he would basically like knock on the door kind of and be like, "Hi guys, I'm Genghis Khan. How you doing? Look, here's the thing. I'm gonna be taking over this area. Okay, so I'm giving you guys a chance to surrender, and no one gets killed. In fact, your city will actually get better. You'll get money from trade and things like that. So how about it? You guys surrender. Okay. Now you're gonna find out later on what happens when the city doesn't surrender. But he gave them the option. You can surrender. In fact, you guys will do well. I'll just skip right over you guys. I'll just, this area will be mine, but we'll just move on. Nobody needs to get hurt. The next one, women in the empire had rights. Now, did they have like equal rights? No, of course not. I'd say to say it, but they didn't at that time. But they did have more rights than a lot of women in a lot part of the world at that time. A lot of places in the world, especially like in Europe, women were seen as you're supposed to have children, you're supposed to be cleaning, you're supposed to be doing all this stuff, and don't have any say so in stuff. You're just there to do things. You're second class citizen. Whereas in Genghis, it's like, no, you're not really a second class citizen. You're not equal to men, but you're just below, instead of being way down here. Okay. The last one was soldiers were given rank based on how they fought in the battlefield, not how long they've been in the army. No, no, no. It's like, hey, how well did you fight? Did you help out your other guys? Did you show distinction in battle? That's how people got ranked up. And again, it didn't matter which clan they were in or if they were once an enemy or not. If you're a good fighter, you're going to be up here with me. And you have to remember, Genghis Khan was not one of those generals who was in the back watching the fighting. No, he was out there. So he saw for his own two eyes who were good fighters, who weren't, and things like that. So if you're one of those soldiers who's like, I'll be in the edge, I might kill a person or two, you wouldn't rank up, even though you could have been there for 15 years. No, you didn't rank up as much because you didn't prove yourself as much in battle, as opposed to somebody who might have been there for a year or two and killed hundreds of people. They probably ranked up fast. All right, so of all the good things, quote unquote, good things he did, which one do you feel is the best one he did? Tolerate all religions, create an international post office, establish strong trade routes, gave people a chance to surrender before he conquered them, gave women rights, ranked the soldiers by their ability. Which one do you personally think is the one that was the best? Okay, so think about it, write your response, pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's talk about the bad stuff, okay? So, I told you guys that he would knock on basically the door and tell people, hey, I'm Genghis Khan, we're going to conquer this area, and you should really surrender, we'll just pass right by you. Some places said, no, we will not surrender. Those that didn't surrender were killed. He basically slaughtered the people. Man, woman, child, he killed them. All right. The surrendering was the only way to stay alive, really, with Genghis Khan. So yeah, it was a bad move to try to be like, oh, we can take you on. No, you weren't, and he was gonna wipe through you guys. The other one, if he asked for your help for soldiers, things like that, you better send it to him. Because if you didn't, you were gonna, you're going to pay the price. And that's exactly what happened to one group in particular in 1219. He asked for some soldiers. Hey, send us some help, some reinforcement. That group didn't. Okay, they're called the Tan Guts. Okay, they didn't send troops when Genghis asked for them, and so when the battle was over and Genghis won, they went over and they're like, "Hey, so why didn't you send the soldiers?" And the town people were like, "Well, we were, have our soldiers here just in case we got attacked. Our own defense." Oh yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. And basically wiped out the place. So yeah. Now there's one thing that I did not put on here, and which is true, but you know, thing is, it goes to a myth. Thing is, they did rape women. I did not put on here that they did, but they did. Okay, they did rape women. Now there's a myth that like 10% of all the Asians are related to Genghis Khan. Yeah, it's kind of a myth because here's the thing: Genghis Khan wasn't, it wasn't just him. You have to think about his son and grandson as well. So yeah, it wasn't just him. So to say that it was 10% is from him, no. You have to remember through time he has soldiers and things like that too. But yeah, they did rape women. I did not put that on there, but that is one of the bad things, the really bad things that they did. The next one is he's actually responsible for more than 40 million people to die. Now, 40 million is a lot right now, but back then it was a lot more. See, in China, he killed tens of millions of people. In Iran, the country of Iran, for every four people, they killed three of them. Basically, almost wiped out the entire country. Um, and like I said, nowadays we have 7.9 billion people on this earth. Back then, they didn't have anywhere near that many people. They probably had somewhere maybe like 400 million, maybe, you know. So when he basically took out like 40 million, that's like 11% of the world. I did the math. 7.9 billion people, 11% is 896 million people. So just imagine somebody slaughtering and killing 896 million people in the world. That's mind blowing. Like, wow. Okay. Let's say like this, he killed so many people, he actually made the earth colder. You heard me right. He killed so many people, he made the earth colder. Because you have to remember, people have carbon dioxide. We breathe in air, we breathe it out. But at that time, with 11% of the world gone, basically being kind of like a Thanos thing, you know, it made the earth colder. So, yeah. So, question number 3. Of all the bad things he did, again, you can add the rape one in there because it deserves to be on there. I just forgot to put it on there. Do apologize. So all the people that he killed all who didn't surrender. If you didn't help or contribute, you were dealt with very harshly. Or the fact that he killed 11% of the earth, and the raping part. Which one of those four do you think was the worst? Which one? Okay. So think about it. Write your response. Okay, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So this map shows you how much of the Asia that Genghis Khan controlled. Um, Again, it's quite extensive. It's pretty big. Okay. So, yeah, and you can see where he traveled in the years and things like that. So it's quite a bit of land that he controlled. So now we come to his death. Here's the interesting thing. The only thing historians agree on is the year he died, 1227. That's it. That's it. That's all the historians can agree on when it comes to his death. Because we don't really know how he died. You know, there's several, actually, there's quite a bit of theories out there. I put the four that seems kind of logical, kind of like, okay, maybe. One of them was, remember, he was a general, but he was also a warrior. He was out there with his men. So one of the ways that they say he died was he fell from the horse. He fell from his horse, and you have to remember these guys traveled by horse, and that he probably got stampeded on, and that's how he died. The next one is malaria, which is at that time very, it was around, and if you did get it and wasn't treated right away, you could die from it. Okay. This next one was interesting in that it's basically said that he had a rare um, condition where he would bleed just out of the blue. It was just his nose started bleeding, things like that. And the story goes that he was out drinking, he was, he got married again, things like that. And what happened was he couldn't move because he was so intoxicated, and that he actually drowned in his own blood. That'd be a way to go, right? One of the greatest warrior generals of all time dying because of a bloody nose. The other one I heard was that he took an arrow to the knee. Now, this one has two things I've heard of where they took it out, and the knee got infected, and kind of like gangrene into the blood system, and then dies. The other one was that the arrow was rusted. This is something some people would do. They would take the arrow, the metal, arrow tip, put it in water, let it dry so that it got rusty. And even if it just cut, you know, or if it got in the arm and they pull it out or whatever, that rust would be in the blood system and that person would die. So that's one way I heard too what happened with the arrow to the knee, that it was rusted and that the rust got into his blood system and he died. Now, the other thing that historians don't know is where he's buried. Nobody knows. The funeral procession, basically the most trusted people that Genghis Khan, he did trust, they went off to bury him. And basically anyone who saw where they were going was killed. So you just imagine some guy just randomly with his horse and be like, hey, what's this? Hey, that was Genghis Khan's body. Oh wow, dang, I didn't know he died. Yeah, well, so are you now? You know, and they kill him because they didn't want anyone to know where he was buried. And once they did bury him, um, they had the horses kind of go over his grave to kind of look like, it wasn't a freshly dug tomb, or the ground wasn't disturbed. That looked like horses were going through, which, make it look like ordinary ground. Okay. And that's it. His body is out there somewhere. Where? Who knows? You know. But that's the end of Genghis Khan. All right, so just like your first question, you got an option. The first question says, why do you think he didn't want anyone to know where he was buried after he died? Why do you think Genghis Khan didn't want no one to know? You know. Okay, so think about that one. The second one is, how do you think the world would react if his body slash tomb was discovered today? I mean, the guy killed 11% of the world. One of the, I mean, wow, that's ridiculous. That's crazy, you know? So think about that. How do you think the world would react? Right? So pick whichever one you can answer better. Go with that one. Okay? Pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so the first, oh, this is your exit ticket, as you can see. The first, you're going to pick one of the 3 questions. The first one says, how did Genghis Khan come to power? All right, so go back to your notes, think about it, right? The second one says, give 2 examples of how Genghis Khan changed the world. Okay. The last one, I would really be interested in see what you guys think. Which way of death seems more logical for you, the way the Genghis Khan would go? Do you think it was the trampled by horses? Do you think it was malaria? Do you think he had that rare blood condition? Or do you think it was an arrow to the knee? Which one seems more logical? Okay. So once you finish with this exit ticket, you are done for this lesson. Okay. So you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. All right.